do whatever the man with the gun says so we can all go home with no extra holes in our body. We had this old farm truck. It was just an old square body Chevy. Somebody that owned it before that was a big fan of like chains and stuff. So it had all this like chain license plate and a chain shifter and all this kind of gangster stuff on this truck. But yet it had a lift kit on it. It was just a kind of awful, but kind of cool at the same time. So anytime I had to run to town to get a part or something like that for a tractor or whatever, I'd always hop in this truck. It was just my favorite. It was very old school. I hopped in it one day and it had 2 fuel tanks in this truck, like a lot of trucks of the days did. And you could just hit a switch. So I get in the truck and it's almost out of gas on one tank, but I just figure I'll just fill it up on my way home. I drive into town and I get the parts I needed. As I'm driving back out of town, truck starts to sputter. I'm hitting the end of that fuel tank. So no problem. I hit the switch and the fuel tank gauge just shoots right up and then immediately fell right down again. And the truck proceeds to sputter to a stop in the middle of traffic on a hill. So I am causing some traffic flow issues, to say the least. But I looked down the hill. There was a red light. So I waited till I had a time. Light turns red. I put the truck in neutral and just coasted it backwards down the hill. There's an empty light. I was just going to hook it into the light, get it out of the traffic. So as I do that, though, I'm coasting backwards down the road. And some fella just didn't look, turns out of his driveway, pulls out, almost hits me. I hit the brakes again. I get cussed out in, I believe, Spanish. And now I'm stopped again, so I have to get momentum up again, wait for another red light, finally get the truck off the road. I'm like, okay, no problem. I leave the truck parked in this empty lot in not the best side of town, and I had a particular handgun at the time, Glock 23 I've had for 25 years, and I took it out of the box and, put it back in my pants, got my wallet, got my stuff, and proceeded to walk and go try to find a gas can. I get to a convenience store. They've got gas, but no gas can. So I walk a little farther. I get to another store, and they also have gas, no gas can. This happens at one more store as well. And I'm starting to piece together that this sort of rough town I'm in, a lot of people maybe don't have working gas gauges in their cars, so a gas can's a hot commodity, I think. I finally find an AutoZone. Now, they don't have any gas cans either, but they do have a bright fluorescent yellow diesel gas can, which I just need to carry the liquid. That'll work fine. I buy this bright yellow gas can, and now I'm walking back towards the truck. Now, it obviously made no sense to get gas at the closest gas station and then walk farther with it, so I'm just going to go to the very last gas station, so therefore I have to walk as little as possible, carrying 20, 30 pounds of gas. So I get to the last gas station. It's on this corner next to a car dealership, and the open pump is sort of the one kind of facing the street. Get the pump going, and I go to try to get the nozzle off of the gas cap. And it's one of those new, it's not like back in the good old days with just a cap. It's this new thing with the vapor lock, and you need like 3 people to hold the spring and twist the other thing and pop this thing out. So I'm kind of wrestling with this thing. And, when I carry a gun, I prefer to either go just ankle holster, back pocket, something subtle. I'm not really a small to back kind of carrying person, but that's what I had with me that day. And, I stand straight when I walk. So, if I've got a gun, you don't know it unless I've pulled it out. So, in my efforts to keep this gun concealed, but yet also wrestle this gas can, at some point I had just bent over just enough wrestling this thing that I guess the print of the gun in the back of my pants was evident through my shirt. Now, I don't think about this until about 10 seconds later when I heard an engine of a car just revving in anger. And I look over my shoulder and there's a police car who had been sitting in traffic at that red light, literally coming over the curb, into the gas station. And I'm honestly don't even think it's me. I think, oh my God, something must be happening. Maybe it's getting robbed. Maybe it's an emergency. So I just kind of, get out of the way to let whatever's going to unfold. But sure enough, he's coming for me. Car screeches a halt. Guy gets out, with the gun, freeze, and I'm, of course, dropped the gas can. I thankfully had not got the pump going yet. So I'm just, and I get the full felony stop thing, down on the ground, on your knees, face away, lay face down. So now I'm laying face down in the greasy spot there at the gas pump, hands on my head. The guy jumps onto my back, takes the gun out of my pocket, throws it. He threw it under his car, which I guess is a training move, maybe kind of smart. Anyway, throws the gun, zip ties me, gets me up on my knees, and then puts away his actual gun and then switches to the taser gun. and is like standing there holding me with the taser gun. And I'm just going full compliance here. I'm not even, this is not the time to explain yourself. This is just do whatever the man with the gun says so we can all go home with no extra holes in our body. So, he's just amped up and excited. And I'm just waiting for instructions. The guy's like, what's the gun for? What's the gun for? And I was like, I've got a Georgia concealed carry permit in my wallet. If you would like to observe it, it's valid. I'm not wanted for anything. Can you tell me why you're so excited about this? And he proceeds to, get around me, gets my wallet out, pulls through the thing. And of course, sure enough, valid concealed carry permit. The gun's not stolen. No wrongdoing on my part. At this point, I'm like, can I get up now, please? And so he gets me up and I, tucks the zip ties off and just kind of calms down. And now I can see him he's very embarrassed at this point. And he's a young police officer. I'm waiting for my opportunity to speak my bit now that the tasers and the guns, everything gone away. Let's just wait. I'll get my turn to speak here. So now it's my turn to talk. And I'm like, what are you thinking? He's like, well, you got to understand, as a police officer, I was just sitting there in traffic and I saw you pumping gas and I saw your gun. And, when I see your gun, I go to my training. And I'm like, did it occur to you that I might be carrying that gun legally as we have now ascertained? And he said, well, you got to understand that around here. And what he was referring to is this particular town, you are more likely to encounter somebody that is either a felon or perhaps an illegal alien. And if you did see somebody with a gun, chances are in this neighborhood, they weren't carrying it legally. So I can at least sort of see. But this guy just had a tremendous overreaction to this thing. So anyway, he's very apologetic. And I'm thinking I can handle this two ways. We can call your supervisor and make a big deal about it and, get you in trouble. But honestly, no harm done. I got a greasy spot on my already dirty jeans. I'm alive. Let's just take an opportunity to have an after-school special moment. And I'm like, okay, look, officer, this sort of thing could get a person such as yourself in a lot of trouble. And I know you're just doing your job, but the next time you see a gun that's not being actively used in a crime, dial it back a little bit. He said, well, you were at this gas station. I didn't know if you were about to rob it. And I was like, buddy, I got a 5-gallon gas can pumping gas. Like, do you think I'm going to pump 5 gallons of gas, rob the store, and then try to run away with 40 pounds of fuel with me? And he's like, whoa, I didn't really think. I'm like, look, let's just, in the future, just count to 10, think about the situation, go about your day. So we parted ways. I didn't feel a need to give this guy a harder time than I did. And oddly enough, this is where the day gets weird. So now I'm wearing a bright orange t-shirt. I've got blue jeans on, cowboy boots, carrying a pretty large 5-gallon fluorescent yellow gas can. I'm not inconspicuous. So I'm about to cross the street and, there's no red light there, but obviously, the main road's got right of way. There is a car coming to a stop, but, approaching this intersection. So I wait to see that they are indeed slowing down. And sure enough, they're hitting the brakes, coming to a stop. I'm like, okay, cool. So I start walking across the street. The car comes to a stop at the stop line just before I get there. And as I'm walking in front of the car, this is kind of like Bruce Willis's character when he runs over Marcellus Wallace in Pulp Fiction. As I'm crossing in front of the car, I see the lady come to a stop. She looks left, she looks right, and then just punches the gas and just drives into my legs. Now, she's only 2 feet away from me. There was no speed involved. I literally didn't even fall down. She just sort of, as she came at me, I just kind of turned sideways and kind of hopped onto the hood of her car, kind of kicked my legs out. Of course, she hits the brakes, which slides me right back off the hood. I'm still on my feet. I don't even fall down. And I kind of look at her like, what are you thinking? And she sees me just for a second, puts the car in park. And the only thing I can think of is that, she obviously realized she had just hit a pedestrian. And I think she was worried that she was going to get in trouble somehow. Like that she needed to somehow cast the blame off of herself. So she jumps out of the car and just starts kind of yelling to, I guess, anybody around. There was a few people pumping gas. There was a car dealership here with some mechanics kind of hanging outside. And she never even addressed me directly. She just starts going, this man jumped on my hood. Did y'all see that? This man just jumped on my hood. And she's just yelling like, this man jumped on my hood. This man jumped on my hood. But she would never even address me directly. And I'm trying to kind of calm her down at this point. I'm okay. But, she's having some sort of panic. Kids are in the car. This man jumped on my hood. And I was like, ma'am, I'm okay. No, I didn't jump on my hood. This man jumped on my hood. I'm like, no, I was walking through your hood. You hit me with an Oldsmobile. Nonetheless, she just really can't dial it back. She gets back in her car, rolls up the windows, and I haven't really said much at all. But I'm like, okay, look, you know what? I'm okay. I'm just gonna keep walking. And so I'm just like, God, this is a weird day. Anyway, so I continue to walk another mile or so back to the truck, just thinking like, what a weird day I'm having. By the time I'm getting back to the truck, I can see the truck, and I'm thinking like, whew, I made it back without anything else weird happening. And just then, a school bus just came thundering past me on the highway, and immediately I heard this kind of this flappity kind of sound. And just as I turned around to hear what the sound was, a notebook hit me in the back of the head. Just a ring binder just popped open, exploded, papers everywhere. This thing hits me at, I don't know, 40 miles an hour. Some kid, obviously, on the school bus, sees some poor guy walking carrying a gas can and says, I'm going to hit him with a notebook. Snatches the notebook, presumably from some smaller, weaker kid, flings it out the window, which, admittedly, remarkable accuracy. I would like to give this kid credit. Hooks it out the window. I can only imagine some sort of spectacular spinning arc of English. Got me right in the back of the head. And I looked down at the notebook, and it was a notebook belonging to a kid named Christian, and it was his agenda. So the only thing I could think of is that, that was in a transitional period of my life, and perhaps I wasn't living as good as I should have been, and that's why I got hit in the head with the Christian agenda.